Ever wondered why you may not lose weight with fasting but do with prolonged dieting? The realm of weight loss strategies is vast and varied, with fasting and prolonged dieting standing as two of the most popular methods. Fasting, a practice steeped in tradition and spirituality, has recently gained momentum as a go-to weight loss technique. It involves going without food for defined periods, a concept that's as intriguing as it is challenging. On the other hand, prolonged dieting is a more gradual approach, focusing on sustained changes to your eating habits over time. It's often perceived as a safer, more manageable method to shed those stubborn pounds. The prevalent belief is that both these strategies lead to weight loss. But is that the reality, or is there more to it than meets the eye? We're about to delve into the intricacies of these two fascinating strategies. So stay tuned as we delve deeper into these two intriguing weight loss strategies. Scene script. First, let's shed some light on fasting. What is it really? Well, in its simplest form, fasting is the voluntary abstinence from food and drink for a specific period. It's a practice that has been around for centuries, used in both spiritual and health contexts. Now, there are various types of fasting, each with its own unique characteristics. First up is intermittent fasting, a popular method where you cycle between periods of eating and fasting. This could be as simple as skipping breakfast or as complex as eating only during a 4-hour window each day. Next, we have water fasting, where you consume only water for a set period. This is often used for detoxification or weight loss, but it's not for the faint-hearted. It requires a lot of discipline and should always be done under medical supervision. Then there's juice fasting, where only fruit and vegetable juices are consumed. This type of fasting is often used for detoxification and weight loss as well, but it allows for a bit more nutritional intake than water fasting. So, how does fasting work in the body? When you fast, your body switches its energy source from glucose to ketones, a type of fuel made from fats. This switch can lead to weight loss, improved insulin sensitivity, and even increased longevity according to some studies. However, fasting isn't without its drawbacks. It can cause headaches, dizziness, and fatigue, especially in the beginning. It can also be challenging to stick to, particularly if you're surrounded by tasty temptations. And when it comes to weight loss, while fasting can help, it's not a magic bullet. Weight loss happens when you consume fewer calories than you burn, whether that's through fasting or some other method. Quite an intriguing concept, isn't it? But how does it measure up against prolonged dieting? Well, hold on to your hats, folks. We're about to dive deep into the world of dieting in our next segment. Stay tuned. Now, let's turn our attention to prolonged dieting. Prolonged dieting, or chronic dieting as it's sometimes referred to, is a long-term commitment to a specific eating pattern with the goal of losing weight or maintaining a certain physique. It comes in various forms, each with its own set of rules such as low-carb diets, low-fat diets, and ketogenic diets, to name a few. The low-carb diet, as the name suggests, involves reducing carbohydrate intake while increasing proteins and fats. This diet is popular among those wanting to lose weight and control blood sugar levels. The low-fat diet, on the other hand, restricts fat intake to reduce calories. It's often recommended to those with heart conditions. And then there's the ketogenic diet, a high-fat, adequate protein, low-carbohydrate diet that forces the body to burn fats rather than carbs. When we talk about the impact of prolonged dieting on the body, we need to consider both the advantages and disadvantages. On the positive side, these diets can lead to weight loss, improved blood sugar control, and even a reduction in heart disease risk. However, every diet has its drawbacks. Low-carb diets can lead to nutrient deficiencies and digestive problems. Low-fat diets may not provide enough essential fatty acids and fat-soluble vitamins. Ketogenic diets may cause unpleasant side effects like bad breath, constipation, and vitamin deficiencies. And then there's the elephant in the room, sustainability. Prolonged dieting demands a lot of discipline and commitment. It requires you to make significant changes to your eating habits, which can be hard to maintain in the long run. There's also the risk of developing an unhealthy relationship with food, where it becomes a source of stress rather than enjoyment. So, we have a better understanding of prolonged dieting, but the real question is, how does it compare to fasting? It's time to put fasting and prolonged dieting head-to-head. Let's start off with a parameter that's on everyone's mind: weight loss effectiveness. Fasting, particularly intermittent fasting, has been hailed as a powerful tool for shedding those extra pounds. The science behind it is pretty straightforward. By limiting your eating window, you're naturally inclined to consume fewer calories. But here's the twist. Prolonged dieting can also lead to weight loss, albeit in a different way. It works by creating a calorie deficit over an extended period, meaning you're consuming fewer calories than your body needs to maintain its current weight. So, in the weight loss department, both fasting and prolonged dieting can be effective, but the approach is different. Next up, let's talk about sustainability. This is where things start to diverge. Fasting, while effective in the short term, can be challenging to maintain over a long period. It requires discipline and a strong willpower to resist the temptation to eat during fasting hours. Prolonged dieting, on the other hand, is more about making consistent, sustainable changes to your eating habits. It's less about restriction and more about balance and portion control. Therefore, from a sustainability perspective, prolonged dieting often has the upper hand. Now let's delve into the impact on metabolism. Fasting has been shown to boost metabolic rate and improve insulin sensitivity, which can be beneficial for weight loss and overall health. However, prolonged dieting can lead to a decrease in metabolic rate over time, a phenomenon known as metabolic adaptation or starvation mode. This can make weight loss more difficult and increase the likelihood of weight regain. So, while fasting may have some metabolic advantages, prolonged dieting requires careful management to avoid potential pitfalls. Finally, we need to consider the overall health effects. Both fasting and prolonged dieting can lead to improvements in various health markers, such as blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and blood sugar control, but they can also have some potential downsides. Fasting, especially when done excessively, can lead to nutrient deficiencies and disruptions in hormonal balance. Prolonged dieting, particularly when it involves severe calorie restriction, can also lead to nutrient deficiencies, along with potential effects on bone health and mental well-being. In conclusion, both fasting and prolonged dieting have their pros and cons, and their effectiveness can vary greatly depending on individual circumstances. It's crucial to remember that what works for one person may not work for another, and it's always important to consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new diet regimen. A fascinating comparison, isn't it? But what does this mean for you? So, should you fast or go for prolonged dieting? This is the question we've been delving into throughout this discussion, and it's time to wrap it up with a concluding verdict. On one hand, fasting, specifically intermittent fasting, has its unique benefits. It's a practice that focuses on when to eat rather than what to eat. It can be a powerful tool for weight loss, improving insulin sensitivity and boosting brain function. It's a method that's been around since, well, forever. Our ancestors inadvertently practiced it when food was scarce. On the flip side, we have prolonged dieting, a strategy that involves reducing calorie intake over a long period. This method can lead to sustainable weight loss, improved heart health, and even a longer lifespan. It's a more structured approach, and for those who need a clear plan, it can be a great fit. However, let's not forget that every individual is unique. What works for one may not work for another. Your health condition, lifestyle, and weight loss goals are all important factors to consider when choosing between fasting and prolonged dieting. Do you have diabetes or a history of eating disorders? Fasting might not be the best choice. Are you someone who needs a structured eating plan to stay on track? Prolonged dieting could be the way to go. And let's not forget the importance of enjoying the journey. If you're miserable while fasting, or if prolonged dieting feels like a chore, it's unlikely you'll stick with it for long. Remember, consistency is key in any health endeavor. So, after weighing the pros and cons, it's clear that both fasting and prolonged dieting have their merits. It's not about choosing a winner, but rather about finding what works best for you. Remember, the best diet is the one you can stick to, and that makes you feel good. Choose wisely and stay healthy.